So we're going to begin by just landing. I just want you to pause for a few breaths. Feel the bottoms of the feet, back of the torso, back of your head, touching, connecting to the ground. And then we're going to focus on the breath. So the breath expands into the front of the torso, and expand towards the ceiling. And also we can sense the breath in the back of the torso, feeling that movement in the back ribs towards the floor. So we're just sensing what we're feeling. We're feeling what we're sensing. We're becoming aware of what's happening in the present moment. And then we want to expand into the side ribs. So I can take my fingers, bend my wrists, and place my fingers to the side ribs. And as I breathe, I feel the breath expand outwards. What we're doing here is we're moving the diaphragm. And by touching myself with my fingers, my body is receiving information through my fingers, goes back through the nerves to the brain to say, yep, I feel the breath in the side ribs. The next place is hand on the belly, hand on the upper chest. As we inhale, we can feel the breath move into the top hand and down into the bottom hand. So always filling the lungs. And then resting your hands wherever you're comfortable. The midline is the spine. And for a couple of breaths, notice the breath expand away from the spine in all directions. And as you exhale, softening back to the midline. And just feel that undulation of the breath. Being gentle. Enjoy the softening as you exhale. And then as the breath returns to its natural rhythm, just tune in with the body. Sometimes it feels nice to stretch the legs out long after the knees have been bent, or sometimes it feels good to bring the knees into the chest. Just listen to the body. The next place we go from here is tucking and untucking the pelvis. Think about a dog's tail between your legs. So if I pull my belly in, my pelvis tips, my tailbone tucks up between my legs. And then as I arch through the lower back, that tailbone drops down. My back just popped.
I heard that.
So the belly pulling down, the front is contracting so that the back can relax and lengthen. And then I lift the lower back off the floor, I arch, the belly relaxes, the back contracts. So if you place your hands on the front of your knobby hip bones, as you move, you'll feel these bones tip away from your face and tip toward your face. Whenever we have action in the pelvis, the spine is going to respond. Start off slow, small, and gentle. Maybe it gets to be a bigger movement, but that's not necessary. Once you do a few, we can actually make it smaller. We could place the hands on the ribs under the chest. Keep the ribs really quiet. And when I create the movement to arch and flatten, it's a much smaller movement. And what we're doing is we're just changing this middle waist area down into the pelvis without involving the ribs. For a lot of times when we're tight through the back, we're tight all the way up. So I want you to be able to move independently. Pelvis moving independently from the ribs. Be super gentle on the untop, the arching. Belly and back flat. And then just pause in neutral. And now I've moved my whole spine. I can just take my shoulders and just kind of wiggle them out a little bit longer. I just feel like I made myself an inch taller. My spine feels a little flatter to the floor. And then we're going to bring one knee to the chest. Do your looser, easier side. And use your hands. If the shoulders are feeling tense, use a strap, a tie to your bathrobe, anything, any kind of exercise band around the front of the knee or the back of the thigh, so that you're using your hands and not straining the shoulders. And you can create some movement in the hip joint. Because moving the joint releases synovial fluid, which is like WD-40. I can hold the knee in and explore lifting the knee up and down. And we do this to release synovial fluid in the knee. So not necessarily about lifting the foot as far as humanly possible and stretching the back of the leg. And then I'm just going to keep my foot up. My thigh is staying close, so I'm not trying to lift my foot out. Just take my foot up a little bit, and I'm going to scrunch my toes and then pull the toes back. Crack, crack.
Crunch, crunch.
Crunch, crunch. And then I can just move my ankle, so I can point my toe and the ankle. Point the toe and the ankle. Circle the ankle. Relax the shoulders. And then I'm just going to drop the leg back down, hold the knee to the chest. Take a breath or two. And then if I bring the other leg in, they're different from each other. And we pause there. The body's receiving information. Oh, wow, that worked. That's a new body memory. So we'll have a craving later. I need to move my hip, I need to move my knee, I need to move my toes. And the body opens up really quickly on the second side. So I am exploring movement, and I'm looking for a place that feels pretty comfortable. And for me right now, having my knee a little out to the side is more comfortable than pulling it over here. It feels pinchy in the crease. I don't want to agitate. I'm just going to lift and lower the foot. And I feel something interesting in my foot. I've had a couple foot issues this week. When I lift my foot, I feel a stretch on the side of my toe. I love that stuff. Oh, my knee cracked. So it's all I cracked again.
You're a hot mess, woman.
I know. I'll tell you my story in a moment. So then I'm just going to keep my foot. I'm going to scrunch my toes. I have to look at them, talk to them. Come on. Bend and straighten the ankle. Circle the ankle. So when I circle my ankle, I'm really making the foot go across, out to each side is important. Well, then you can play around with it, like maybe a couple more knee bends. Hold the knee to the chest. Again, do what feels good. Maybe both knees into the chest for a moment. Creates lengthening in the lower back. And then feet on the floor. The next position is ankle to thigh. Start with the looser, better leg, ankle to the thigh. Bending the ankle keeps the knee in good alignment. And I'm just going to move my knee away from my body and then bring the knee across towards the body. And just sensing what you feel. As the knee comes in, it's often stretchy in the butt, tight in the front. As I open the knee out, it's opening in the front, tightening in the back. Keeping the knee open, bend the ankle, and now I can just play with that arch and tuck again. So I'm going to arch the back a little off the floor, be slow, small, gentle. Pull the belly in and flatten. Now all I've done is change the angle of my thigh bone so the ball is coming into the socket differently as I create this pelvic movement. Gentle. And the next movement is a little side to side motion. So I'm going to stop in neutral. I'm going to inhale, rock. I'm going to come to the baby toe edge of the foot that's on the floor. Paying attention to the foot that's on the floor, roll over to the big toe edge. Add breath. Inhale as the legs go down towards the floor. Exhale to come back to center. Inhale towards the floor. We're not trying to touch the floor. We don't care about how far we're going. We're really in changing muscles through the hip into the pelvis, and we're also turning on the core while we're massaging muscles of the lower back. Should not be painful in any way. Once you've done a couple hundred of those, place your hands on the ground so my arms can help me brace. And that's what abdominal muscles do. That's what your core does. It braces your spine. So as I pull my belly in, my back flattens, I'm bracing myself so that my psoas can help me lift my leg into my chest. I visit a stretch. I come back to the floor with the foot. You could then arch the back off the floor. Belly in, back flat, lift the foot. Your chin will poke up towards the ceiling. Bring the foot back down, maybe arch, the chin will drop down. You don't have to do the arch when you bring the foot back down. I like to do 3, 4, 5. Maybe you stay up, grab hold of the leg, maybe use a strap, hold the leg, bend the ankle. You can always create a rock, side to side. And then come down and do the other side. All right?
Yep.
So then from there, I would go to windshield wipers. You can stick windshield wipers in there wherever you like.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, here I am rocking from big toe to baby toe. I'm just starting to move tissue. I want to move slowly so I notice if there's anything weird. And once you've done a couple hundred, you start to be like, oh yeah, this is long. Now I can feel my glute engage, big toe edge of the foot press. And now I'm like, ooh, nice and yummy stretch from the knee through the thigh, front of the hip, even all the way up into the belly. I can turn my head the opposite direction. I can play around with my arms. Don't create pain, but it is a nice fascial stretch that can free up the shoulders. And then from there, when you're ready to come up, I would roll to the side. Billion.
Yeah, okay.
Now this is a good time to do a lunge. So I would go hands to blocks. The foot, my hands are under my shoulders, knees are under hips. I pick the foot that wants to volunteer, I slide it right out in front of the blocks. As I bend the front knee, I notice the shin bone is vertical. If the knee is too far out, scooch the front foot forward. The other thing we want to make sure of is that this foot is not in front of the back knee. I don't see you doing that, but it is a tendency for people like you and I. So once I'm here, I have my nice lunge. Lunging allows a lumbar curve to happen as it lengthens the psoas of the back leg. When I move back, my toes stay on the floor. This will stretch the fascia on the top of the foot. I can lower my head. I can even pull my belly in. And I'm gonna feel a nice stretch down the back of the leg, the top of the foot. And then you can move forward and back, nice and slow. Remembering that the goal is for the tissues to slide and glide, not to go far, not even to stretch, but to create fluid movement. A lot of times in class, especially if you were to take like a Sunday class, I'll teach the lunge and I'll say come up with the tall blocks. And I walked my blocks back. This leg is vertical, and I'm going to lift my front toes up, slide the heel forward. This is a big stretch. So I bend the ankle, straighten the knee, and then just a little bit, move the pubic bone down. So now I have a lumbar curve, and you would look out the window. So most people think it's about, put my head down on my knee. But they're wrong. You bend the ankle, straighten the knee, untuck the pelvis. And this is super big stretch from the bottom of the foot up to the sit bone. And then you pull it back. After doing the other side, if the wrists feel a little tender, you could come on the fists. This is a good time to maybe just visit the cat. And then come back to neutral. I'm more curious about you lengthening the lower back and engaging the glutes is more important for your body than to go into a deep saggy cow. You already have this movement. We need to focus on this movement. Doesn't mean you can't visit and explore, but don't overdo it.
Yep.
Just crack. You could always rest back if the knees allow you. You could settle back into child's pose, but only if it's not painful. Because when there's pain, there's fear.